name is Andrei Kolodzik. I'm the founder of Ventures Capital, it's a VC fund, and also the Divan TV is a global over-the-top service. Actually, I had the presentation yesterday. That I share with you how we can disrupt the video and entertainment industry together.
Well, it's quite strange. You described the big span we should cover here, and then we have two guys here that basically are connected to the media industry, and makes it a little bit strange. Okay, I'm also with the Diplomatic Council. I can talk a little bit about the public service side, but even that's not my core focus. I just mentioned Diplomatic Council. That's who I'm with, or who I represent right now. I do run the Global Media Forum of the Diplomatic Council, a global think tank that has official consulting status of the United Nations, and I'm also curate some international media industry conferences about new business models, and with blockchain I'm increasingly occupied.
Great.
Since 2014.
Great. Okay, you've heard about me. I've done public services for 15 years here. I was known as the disruptive entrepreneur for many companies like Sun Microsystems, IBM, working in public sector, retail, finance, etc. So that's enough from me. But let's kick off very fast and get down to the meat of all this. And initially, let's ask both of you guys, where do you see disruption in your line of experience, okay? And to me, I've always had this thing, if you're not disrupting something major, you are more of a follower than a leader, and if you don't disrupt, then you are going to be a me too anyway. So I'm a big disruptor. Let's hear your views on your side.
Okay, sure. Well, I don't know if any of you actually saw my presentation yesterday. Do we have such a people in the room? No? Okay, we have some. Okay, good. So basically, the TV industry is probably one of the oldest one. Have not changed pretty much. And actually the disruption comes from the technology standpoint, but also from the new business models that actually engaging the viewers to actually get the piece of the revenues that actually all the service providers are getting. And this actually is going to be a game changer, because all of a sudden the people that cannot afford to pay for the content, and currently 6 billion people in the world don't pay for the content, they will be able to actually watch it, because you see many startups actually pitching they're going to reward the viewers for watching the advertisement, which is fair, but as of today, you watch YouTube or you watch the torrent or you watch any services, and they're not going to share with you any money they earn, which is not fair to me. But this also gives the opportunity to actually to change this market from the service providers to actually giving the power for the people. And second one, look, many people don't want just to be consumer, right? They want to support the people that actually create content for them, and the technology will allow to actually do this in real time. When you, for example, like what you see on the screen, and you like the actor, or you like the producer, and you will immediately donate or support what you like. Basically, the redistribution of the content will change because of the technology setup, and it's very important. And the last piece is actually advertisement, right? Because we all remember that Google and the Facebook is getting revenues from advertisement. They're big because of advertisement. And we also know the problem in the digital programmatics accounts to almost $19 billion a year because of the fraud, non-transparency, et cetera, and this way technology, especially blockchain and smart contracts, can actually solve this big problem for advertisers, so they could actually support the content that we as the viewers would love to watch for free.
Well, what I want to contribute from my side is that since we're talking about the media industry here, the media was the first one to be disrupted, the first industry to be disrupted in the internet. It was very easy, because what if you break it down? What is media? Media is content. It's music files, it's text files, picture files, movie files, and it doesn't matter if you store it on paper, on disks, or in the internet, or in the cloud. So it was very easy to get it to get business models, online business models, ready for the media industry, providing a lot of good cases and best cases and worst cases, of course, also for other industries, because the model is pretty much the same. And for that reason also, the media industries is probably the first one that will be fully disrupted also by the blockchain, because it's very easy to connect content to the blockchain.
Okay. So in the banking world, the way I see disruption, and I think I mentioned it yesterday as well, that about 3 years ago, I'd actually said 50% of the retail banks are going to be gone by the wayside because of what's happening, okay? I've worked in the city over here for many years as well, and I questioned a few people even in the audience, and they said one of them was from a private wealth bank and one from a retail bank. Said, yeah, we agree that, you know, our jobs are gone. So they see it. Why do they see it? Because there's a lot of middle tier, what I call double accounting and taking the investors and clients' money just for the sake of creating processes and creating jobs. It's more like a retail version of the public services market. So the disruption over there has already started. There are so many crypto and fiat kinds of wallets out there with no branches, very lean and mean business model, very lean and mean commission structures. You know, myself, for one, what we are building is a digital bank with crypto and fiat, and we're going to cut all the interbanking exchange rates. We're going to cut all the bank-to-bank wire transfer costs, things like that. Why can we do that? Because there are much better payment engines in the banking world now which can do transactions overnight, so they don't have to sit on your money and make your money work for them rather than for you. And the same thing with the transaction fees as well, where they charge you 20, 30 pounds for doing wire transfers. You know, this can be 0 to point something of a cent or 20 or 30 cents, which is where the world is actually moving. The world is also moving to what I call everything on the mobile. So your money, your bank, your crypto, everything is in your wallet. So that's where the disruption is coming just now. Okay? With that now, I'd just like to introduce the other two guys. Reza, Yalf, come over.
I'm the co-founder and CEO of Prima Felicitas, which is a blockchain development enterprise serving governments and enterprises, and recently consumers as well, based out of San Francisco, London, and New Delhi. Today we have a very interesting panel discussion and very diverse set of people here talking about several things, among others, healthcare, media, and channel management.
We already talked about media.
Right, right. Reza actually is the co-founder and chief marketing officer of BitCare. And he's doing, among other things, working on clinical trials, which is a very key component of what's happening today in the healthcare world. Then Andrea is the founder of Diwan.tv, and he's also the founder of Venture Fund. And he's a very senior, seasoned entrepreneur, having done 10 successful businesses so far. And then on my left is a man who wears so many hats. He's an international speaker, host. He works with the governments, with the regulators, and of course in the media space, my friend Didier. So that's the background of the panel here. And with that, I would actually try and kickstart this conversation in terms of what it means for the audience here and what they can take from this discussion today. And the topic is disrupting these three industries that I talked about just now. Reza, can I begin with you and ask you a question? In terms of the key challenges for your industry, where blockchain has a certain impact from your perspective, what do you think are those challenges?
Thank you very much for the introduction, Raj. Yeah, I mean, as we know, the healthcare globally has some weak areas that obviously can be improved and managed a little better. One of the things I think the areas that we are developing, our go-to-market product is obviously our pharmacogenetics DNA kit that does a DNA to drug analysis on you. But obviously that collects a lot of data, and we can manage and control permission-based data transfer between patients and doctors on this platform. Otherwise, in the olden days, we say, is you have to print out everything or send them email, which is not secure. So how do you share your DNA results with your doctor or your consulting second remote opinion with somebody? So on our portal, which is a BIT Health portal, our mission is to become the Amazon of healthcare, where we are going to bring in different modalities into our platform. When you mentioned clinical research, that area where patients will own their record through our APIs that we're going to pull from different EHRs. We have over 1,200 clinical research companies that we're partnering up with on our platform that would also monetize the patient's record, including the DNA data record that we pull and eventually build up.
Right, thank you. And we have one more panelist who's going to join us.
Hi, Robert Olson, COO of Radix DLT, highly scalable, totally decentralized distributed ledger technology. We've basically built the first scalable digital database.
Thank you. So can I ask you a question, Andrea, and probably on the similar lines of what Reza answered? And maybe that'll be a theme for this discussion to try and understand how blockchain is sort of disrupting your specific industries. So would you mind sharing your thoughts on blockchain and its impact on your industry?
Well, as I already started, the advertisement industries actually support the internet, right? The Google, Facebook, we all depend on advertisement, but the programmatic advertisement is actually getting better, but we still have a biggest problem, which accounts for, as I said, $19 billion a year, which is a fraud, transparency, etc., which actually the big loss for the brands. And the blockchain technology is actually, in terms of smart contracts, solving different components of that. And it's very important because today we don't have this technology deployed yet for this industry. There are internal obstacles why current players doesn't want that to be employed, which gives the opportunity, right, for many startups, for the existing businesses like us. We are 7 years old business. We are suffer from what's going on in the industry. That's why we are actually changing our business model in terms of decentralization. And decentralization means transparent rules for everyone, meaning brands, content creators, and the users. And everybody should be also rewarded, like users, as I said, because as of today, we consume content, we pay for it, but we still watch advertisement. Okay, not fair game. And once we change the business model, supported by the technology, it's going to be game changer. And we believe that once we build it for ourselves, it will set up the industry standards that others should follow. Okay, and eventually, as I said, our goal is very simple. People don't have to pay for the content, and today we pay $500 million a year, okay, for the content as a viewers. This is how big the industry is. And we want to change it because we want to share with you advertisement money, right? So we will not pay from your own pocket, just from something you already watched. Okay, so this actually is a game changer for the industry.
Right, thanks.
Let me ask you a question. Is any people in this room still want to pay for the content? Because I don't see the enthusiasm from the audience, right? Are you okay with it?
No. I'm always going for
at least
freebies.
I'm speaking up for 6 billion people that cannot afford to pay for the content, okay?
Right, thanks. And I think on a similar line, I'd actually like to have a show of hands, like people here who have invested in the crypto. All right. And are you, in any sense, worried about regulations and things not being in place? Does that really make you nervous at any point? Right, there you go. So I think that sets the stage for you, Didier. Of course, you're coming from the media side, but you also work in the regulatory and the government side as well. So how do you see the role of blockchain in terms of the regulation and the governance, and how are the governments looking at it? And of course, if you have an angle on media, I believe you have lots of insights on that. So we'd love to have your thoughts.
Well, it's really a quite a complicated issue because you have to see it from two different sides. The one thing is that a lot of people are worried because of the blockchain, because of the disrupting power and because everything is changing. So there is a tendency just to overregulate and to prevent any possible risk. And what is happening instead, you're killing the power of innovation. But of course, and we know it in Europe here with the GDPR, and that is causing a lot of hardship to innovative companies. What's happening is, if in consequence, if things become too bad, companies will move out of Europe, innovations will be done in the US, moreover in Asia, and very quickly in Asia, and sooner or later we'll find out we have a serious problem. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that, of course, blockchain comes in also very handy for administration in e-government, whatever these buzzwords are saying. So does it mean that the blockchain will be adopted quickly in public processes? I doubt it. Or, well, we can see it that it will not be the case. You have small countries like Estonia, Malta in the blockchain universe, just to give an example, or Slovenia. They are doing quite well to adapt to the new world and to the new opportunities. That's because they are small countries, they have small governments, very short ways to come to decisions, and so they have an idea and they understand the idea and they can do it. If you look in Germany, for instance, with a very complex structure of federal states and the federal government and all the bureaucracy involved, it's really like a little European Union in many ways. It's very hard to get decisions on the road. Now the German government, when the new government was formed, they in their rule book, or what they want to accomplish during the next 4 years, they said, now finally e-government will be a big topic. I doubt it can be done again, because for various reasons, we know all the problems in Germany on the political side. But also, if they would do it, I'm pretty convinced they would draw out just the old plans, and instead of adopting the chance, using the blockchain and doing something really new, something really innovative, and something that would really bring us forward. If you're looking on the EU perspective, it even becomes worse for a simple reason, because the processes are much more complex. I know it from the TV industry, when the new TV regulation is discussed, till from the first sketches to finally that it becomes a regulation and can be adopted in the countries. It takes at least 7 years, and that's very optimistic, and 10 years, 12 years is much more realistic. And in fast-moving times like we have, you always are behind the market very significantly. This has to do with the process, just to finish this thing. First, you have to, you cannot decide you want to do a research, you have to do a research. Then this research has to be discussed in the commission, and then you have to bring in stakeholders discussing this thing. Once this is discussed, it goes into the parliament, and then the parliament says, well, what it thinks, and then you have to coordinate it with the different states before you come to a final conclusion. And this is taking up a lot of time, and this is really poisonous in fast-moving times like we have it now.
Right, thanks. I think we'll love to come back, especially what's happening with Brexit and how I've seen some of the companies moving their operations also to Luxembourg, and probably we'll touch base on that. Robert, we'd love to understand the things that you are doing at your organization and how blockchain in particular is impacting your industry.
So just to touch on the regulation side, I think Great Britain had got the right sort of stance at the moment. It's kind of light touch, we bit self-regulation. I think that's the right direction because none of us really know the questions to answer, questions to ask, so the answers are kind of tough. But we're not a blockchain, we're a DLT. Blockchains don't scale much beyond 400 or 500 transactions per second. And with 20 nodes, we're doing 2,500 transactions per second on our test network. So I haven't really got lost on blockchain.
No, that's great. Yeah. All right. Right. Thanks. So I think I'd love to shift gears and actually, from audience perspective, would like to understand if people, member of the audience here, would like to sort of enter one of your industries, what should they be thinking about? How should they kind of plan? What are the challenges they should really have solutions to before they jump in? So maybe starting with Reza, I know regulation is a big issue, but generally, what are your comments?
So if somebody wants to get into healthcare in the United States.
In blockchain.
In blockchain. Yeah, definitely, you're right. Regulations, the most important regulation in the US is HIPAA compliance, which is patient's record. And definitely understand that in and out. The other two most important laws in the United States are anti-kickback law and the Stark law for professionals. So those are the three things that they should have definitely a healthcare attorney in their pocket to make sure that they are doing everything right when it comes to health records and really kind of understand that area before they go into it.
Andrea, would you like to answer the same question?
In terms of regulation, in our world, actually, the smart TV vendors are regulated already. That's why you see the content offering are different from countries, right? For example, our service is available in China or even in North Korea, but some services are banned by the local authorities, especially in Asia, as you know. But basically, it's already regulated country by country, which is unfortunately eliminates the freedom of the users, right? Because our service is available in 200 countries, right? Basically, from our standpoint, but we need to comply with all the different regulations in terms of content offering, erotics, all this type of limitation depending on the vendors. You know that on Apple TV, the different categories are banned, especially erotics. So it's pretty much driven by the vendors and the local country-by-country regulation, which give us, of course, the hard time in terms of operation of our service. But it's the same for many other players.
Yeah, I believe so. Ditya?
Well, one of the major problems is also once you have a regulation, it takes time to adopt it because it has to be transformed into national law. So, and these laws can differ again because the regulation that the EU is giving you is just a framework, and you can adapt individual habits that you have in your country. You can adapt to it, and that makes it really really difficult because you see it with the GDPR now. The Austrians have nixed it more or less. It's still a regulation, but you can do what you want. Well, you can do quite a lot under the old regime without being harmed not to obey the new regulations. In other countries, they are pretty strict about it. So you have a huge variety. Also in the TV regulation directive, not a regulation, directive it's called. Nations can differ in the way they execute it. That makes it, of course, very complicated when you are a channel or a platform operator, and you're licensed in the UK. Okay, you can go in. You can offer your service in any European country, but still you have to be careful not to contradict some of the local things, and you can run in real trouble if you're not aware of it.
Yeah, in some countries, like in Russia, you have to have the servers on site, right? So, you know what I'm saying, right? It's because it's content censorship, and they actually can use it to just ban some channels, and sometimes they can ban even service because you carry some channels which are prohibited. But from your standpoint, you signed the rights, for example, global rights, that you are allowed to broadcast. But some countries can say, hey, you know what? But in our countries, that channel is banned. So it's going to have implication on your servers because you are broadcasting this TV channel, for example.
Right.
And the newest torture instruments presented to us only yesterday, I think, is the upload filter. So when you're uploading any content, you have to make as a platform provider. It's not your content; somebody else is uploading it, but you're the platform provider, and you have to make sure that only those content can be uploaded, that legally is allowed to be uploaded, that's where the royalties and the ownerships and the copyright is saved. And it will be, I really don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, the technology is okay, but it will create a lot of trouble for many of content owners in the future.
Right, thanks. Yeah.
So I see this as being a bit of an issue because we're looking at the new technology, but judging it with the old rules. So the whole point of decentralization is there isn't one entity to shut down or to stop or cease and desist orders. So it's definitely tricky. But I'm super keen on decentralization for the very reasons of censorship, resistance, censorship-free, and just choice.
Robert, I actually have a follow-up question for you. So, you are in the DLT space, and this landscape is evolving. Of course, the understanding is mostly on the blockchain space, less on the DLTs. And again, the DLTs are also coming in several flavors. For Corda, for example, is not even a blockchain or DLT. Nobody knows what exactly it is. Likewise, a few other DAG protocols. So, for people to think of starting a DLT, what would you suggest? How should they think about it?
It's just the next version. So all DLTs are blockchains, but not all blockchains are DLTs. So it just brings scalability to the party. So you can approach it the same way you think about starting a blockchain business. It's just the next technology. I mean, the reason is it's called block thrashing. And you can't get all the blocks to synchronize across the network quick enough before the next block comes along. So that's why blockchains don't scale without doing off-chain, side-chain sort of hacks, flight hacks, if you like. Yeah.
I think we have come to the end of the discussion. We'll have time. Do we have time for a couple of questions? Right. Yeah.
Okay, those who want to ask questions, I think it's more important your questions get answered here. Right.
So apart from these industries, one of the other major industry that I see is insurance. So the transaction that happens, what I can see is again the premium payment and the claim settlement. And I understand that can be handled with blockchain, but what are the other areas or the major intricate areas of insurance that can be handled with blockchain?
Who wants to take that one? Insurance?
Yeah, so usually what happens is in insurance, there's always a payer and there's a contract that's between a payer and the receiver. So where the disruption is going to happen is in that area where the smart contract is able to read and comply with the certain stipulations between what the insurance has on their contract and where the the policyholder has on their contract. And it's immutable security, and then the payouts are happened based on the agreement and the stipulation between the contracts. We, being in the healthcare industry, we have a product called Smart Care Contract, where we're actually going in on the back end and putting that in between the hospital and the insurance companies, where our AI will read and learn, the machine learning will learn all the contracts and eventually be able to, we will license that as a SaaS to the hospitals or providers. So the same type of contracts can be used in other insurance products as well.
Does that answer your question? Right, we've got time for one more. Anybody else? Speak now, forever hold your peace, or don't disrupt at all. Anyone? Okay. Thank you very much, panel. Round of applause for the panel,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.